Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Timeless or Trash. I'm your host today, Dan, and I'm joined, as usual, by...
Ben.
James.
And Christian.
Today we're going to be watching About Time. It's about time we...
Someone had to make
Brady!
Someone had to say it.
We're watching this film because of the Twitter poll we did a little while back. This was one of the picks that you guys decided we should watch. This was my kind of pick for that poll, actually, because this film, I feel like it has a nice kind of reputation. People generally like it. It's a nice rom-com with a twist, with a time travel twist. I just kind of think it's a really kind of cringy, like pretentious, very middle class Richard Curtis, existing in a different reality type film. What's your relationship with the film?
I have seen this film once, ages ago, and I remember quite enjoying it. I don't remember an awful lot about it, but I just remember it kind of finishing. I was like, I really enjoyed that. That was pretty good. And then everyone I spoke to about it is like, what are you on about? That was just boring drivel. So...
Okay.
We'll see if it's a kind of thing where, in hindsight, rewatching it, I agree with them, or if, it just reinforces that I quite enjoy this film.
Ben, how about you?
I also watched it once, couple of years ago. I remember enjoying it, maybe because the gimmick of the film, the story gimmick, entices me anyway. If any film has said gimmick, I will enjoy it innately. But yeah, I'm curious to check this out and kind of look at it with a bit more fresher eyes, with another take it and go. Now I kind of know a bit more about Richard Curtis and what he's about in his other films. I'm curious to see how this goes.
Christian, what do you think of the film?
I have never seen this film.
Very good.
Completely fresh eyes.
This is all I know about this film. Is the poster is all I know about the film. Until about an hour ago, I thought this was Emilia Clarke, so shows how much I know about the film. To be honest, I don't know much about Richard Curtis films, because the only one I've seen is Love Actually.
I think it's about time we watched the film. I've done it again.
Let's put a counter in. How many about time jokes? That's two. That's two now.
So yeah, without further ado, let's watch this. Let's watch this thing.
Let's watch this masterpiece.
Okay then, guys, that was About Time.
Indeed it was.
Yeah. And by the end of it, we were thinking it's about time for this to end.
Hey, he's done it again. Another one.
So yeah, it was as I remember it being. It was just a bit weird in a lot of places. So my main problem with About Time, on the face of it, it's a kind of a quiet, sweet-natured romantic comedy. It's Richard Curtis's kind of thing. The dialogue, say what you will about it, it's a little bit cringeworthy for some people. Fine. The characters, very twee.
But there was this, what can I call her? Nature thing.
Everyone's so
Her
quirky.
elfin eyes.
But that's not really my major problem with my film. My major problem with the film is that it's just downright creepy. I don't like Domhnall Gleeson's character at all. I think he's a villain basically. He has this incredibly powerful ability to travel back in time and change the chain of events of his life. So, what does he choose to do with that power? Does he save people from disasters? Does he warn people of impending earthquakes? No, he doesn't. He goes back in time to manipulate a woman into loving him and having children with him, and I find that a little bit strange, really. I don't find that romantic. I find that just fucking weird.
It's definitely one of those sort of like films and concepts that, like, if you just watch it and take it on face value, then it's fine and it's nice and you can enjoy it. But as soon as you start to dissect it, it does quite quickly fall apart a bit. Like, that's its main problem, that just don't think about it.
That's not a
No, I
good
know,
thing, though,
I know.
is it? That's not a.
It's
That's
not
a. You know, imagine that as a tagline on the poster. Just don't think about it.
With any time travel kind of stuff, you always get these problems like paradoxes and weird kind of like logical inconsistencies. Like there's that scene in Austin Powers, isn't there, where they're actually discussing the time travel within the Austin Powers universe, and they actually turn to the camera and say, "It's best you don't think about this."
That goes for you all, too. Yes.
There's the weird bit though, because I think Domhnall Gleeson's character is questionable because Bill Nighy's actually the villain, because he sets him up on that path. Because Bill Nighy's the one that says, "Don't bother doing any of this or trying to stop Hitler or any of that. Just focus on being happy yourself and finding a girlfriend." He's the villain.
Yeah.
But
And he also gaslights his wife and doesn't tell her for how many decades they've been married.
That's it. Like
He never tells her.
He
No,
never
not
tells her.
once.
Yeah.
But like the first time Domhnall Gleeson meets Rachel McAdams, he's quite bumbling. He's a little bit nerdy. He says the wrong thing basically, which is how he.
No.
is-
The first time they meet, it goes off perfectly. They click like that, but he then misses that date because he went back to help Tom Hollander,
Yeah, and then he messes
the
it
guy
up.
he lives with. So it's like, oh, like that she was the perfect woman. I missed it, but he then Then he sees that there's the Kate Moss exhibit, and he's like, oh, she'll turn up there at some point. That is a bit creepy. Just waiting there because you assume that she will pop up at some point.
Yeah.
And from then it's then like, oh, I know all this stuff that I
That's what I
shouldn't,
mean,
and
yeah.
it then
Then it
gets a bit.
It gets worse.
Yeah.
Because she's happy with her boyfriend. And
That's
he,
it.
Yeah,
and
but
he,
look
and
at
he
him, come on
he
now.
deletes the boyfriend from her timeline.
Yeah, but he was
from her
wearing.
life.
Look at that scarf. He deserved to be
But
deleted.
she can't. You can't just erase the
No,
person
because
you're
he-
with.
because
He
he's
can,
decided,
and he did.
And he did.
he's decided that Rachel McAdams is his, right? And he's just gone, and this whole idea of like the perfect woman, like there's someone who out there who you're destined to be with, and he's found this woman, and nothing's going to get in his way.
But are you saying, Dan, if you had the power to go back and change things, you wouldn't change stuff to make it go your way? Like,
I wouldn't.
don't-
I wouldn't
I'm not saying like.
emotionally
No, I was going to say I'm not saying
change
that.
somebody else's
I'm not saying that. But I
life.
mean, like the things of like I think going back to fix his flatmate's play. I think that's quite a nice thing. Like, because that's nothing to do with him. That is just he's like my
Yeah.
flatmate. He deserved that, so I'll go and make it happen. Like, I think
That's one of the
Me-
few good things he does.
it is
Meanwhile,
The only nice thing he does.
Go on, Christian. What did you think about time?
I mean, number one, we basically got to see Domhnall Gleeson's entire lifetime, and it felt like the film lasted a lifetime. That film was so long. How are we only 41 minutes into this movie?
Oh God, are we?
Christian.
Oh no.
There was one likable character in the entire film, and it was the uncle with dementia. I hated
Whoa, now, Dan,
everyone else.
There's two.
I
Come on.
hated everyone else.
Did you not like the housemate? The bearded
Yeah,
housemate.
Dan was
the miserable
great.
No,
housemate?
even he turned out to be a douche.
What the fuck do you want?
Obviously, Richard Curtis had the idea first, and then he's obviously stuck to that idea, and he can't, like, that element of will he save lives, will he be like a sort of superhero, that's quite like a large element, and maybe he's thought, because it's so big I can't just touch on it, maybe I should just leave it out, keep it quite focused.
He saves his sister from a car accident, and then finds out that she's been in a horrible abusive relationship and has been abusing alcohol, and her life is going horrendous. So he's like, I'll take you back to a key moment in your life and we'll turn your life around and it'll be great. And then he gets back to the modern time and he's like, oh, my child is a boy now. Well, I can't deal with that. So he flips his child back to being a girl, and he's like, well, guess my sister just has to have a car crash because, I can't deal with a changed child. What a tool.
He doesn't just stop the car crash. Like, he
No,
still could
no.
have stopped.
Go back and stop it.
I don't know if they mention this, and I don't know if this is just me trying to save issues with it. But is it a thing if he lets the car crash happen because she knows she'll survive, but without the car crash, she's not going to break up with that boyfriend? She needs that push.
Possible, that is Jesus.
I do think there's like almost all of the issues with this film could be fixed in a scene. Like, all they need is like one even line where the dad says, look, we can do this, but you can't do anything big scale. Either it doesn't work or the consequences are too big, so don't try and do anything big. That's why he doesn't try and
he might
like
have done.
stop.
He might have
this.
spoken
Maybe he
over
did.
it.
The problem I had was, like, we got to that the end, credits start rolling, and it felt like there was literally no consequences to anything that he did.
A little bit, yeah.
Like, there's that whole section of the film where he meets back up with Margot Robbie's character and they go on a date, and he nearly ends up like going into her apartment with her and then decides to run home, and that is never mentioned again. Why even take us through any of that? They're like, oh well, it led him to propose. It's like, just have him propose.
Yeah,
it doesn't
he
matter.
was going there anyway. He didn't need Margot Robbie to
there was no consequences to anything that he did. Even the consequences that he did have, it's like, oh, you've gone back and saved your sister's life and turned her life around, but now your child is completely different. So he went back to the child's birth, and it's like, okay, it's the same child now. You've managed to reverse that, but your sister's going to get in a horrific car crash, but you know, it's fine, no consequences for you.
But, like, there are some really like interesting sort of concepts and scenes and like sort of seeds of ideas in here. Like when they've got the moment when like he leaves his dad's funeral and goes back to visit his dad. Like that's a really sort of interesting concept. And the moment when he realizes this is the last time, like I'm now going to go see my dad for the last time. He and both the dad know this is the last time I'll ever see you. Like, there's really big things in there that I don't know if I want to see more from them. I think it's maybe nice. I think if they tried to make a huge thing out of them in this film, it would feel out of place. I think it's that nice level of it's there, but it's not hammering you in the face.
To be honest, all the stuff with the dad and the time travel back and forth then, and the like moral dilemma of having another kid, that was all like quite nice emotional stuff. It's just a shame that I'd been jaded by the first hour and a half of the film, and how there was no consequences, everything felt pointless, and Domhnall Gleeson is genuinely one of the worst film protagonists for moral and ethical like compass.
I mean, I think I said in during the film that I don't mind the concept of the film. Like, I think there is potential there to explore the idea and the themes a little bit more and everything, but it's just in practice, I think there's just something, it comes down to the fact that there's just something really dated about this film now, and even though it was only about 10 years ago, I feel like it's a film about like life and love, right? But it's not like relatable. It's not my life or anyone that I kind of really know.
I think the idea of that if you could go back and change things, the temptation to do so is
I mean, that's a universal theme.
That's what I mean.
But it's hard to. But it's like this power is given to these characters that, like, I don't think many people can relate to now, because it's a big family in a very privileged position who have no problems at all. Really, they seem to have a completely charmed life.
He's got a high-paying job, educated.
Yeah, exactly.
He has no struggles, internal, external struggles.
Yeah, like upper middle class kind of.
I don't know.
It would be much more of an entertaining film if someone was more deserving of that power. But this guy is like, he seems to have a life where everything's been kind of handed to him on a plate anyway.
It's always nice to have family connections when you're a new kid.
I'm sure it is. Prick.
And he still wants more, you know, and he's gonna go into other people's, like, he's gonna mess around with like the fabric of time, so he gets what he wants, so he can have more. And it's just like, it just kind of makes me feel a bit sick. but on the other hand, it's just a daft romantic comedy, so I'm probably looking into it a bit too deeply.
It's like if they were like in his 50s or in their 30s or however old they are, if he told Rachel McAdams, "Oh, we've met, but our true story actually is you had a boyfriend and I erased him just to get you to be with me," she'd be like, I'm calling the police. Like, get away from me.
There's hints of that right at the start in the museum, and it lasts about 30 seconds. Can you imagine if someone who you didn't know poked you in the back like that?
Yeah,
Turn around and mace him.
She gets over it very quickly and just rolls with this guy who seems to know everything.
Because then you can't have a film.
There was clearly something wrong with the sister, and they're also self-involved. Nobody noticed that the sister clearly had some actual... Why wasn't she the main character?
Because she's
that
a
would have
woman.
been way better.
Richard Curtis.
And Richard Curtis doesn't know how to write women.
That's right, women.
She doesn't get the power because she's like
Because she's a
literally
woman.
because only men get the power.
Yeah.
It's mental,
is,
and
yeah.
I'm just.
I think
yeah,
you're
it's
right.
just-
It is just stuff that's like maybe not been fully outdated yet, but it's absolutely on its way
It's
out.
certainly on
It's,
its
I
way
think it's
out.
already on its way out.
People are getting more aware of this stuff. Like, you're noticing it more, and people aren't responding well to it anymore, which is quite nice.
Exactly, people want a little bit more. You know, this feels like a relic. It feels like something from before.
It feels like
even though it's quite modern.
even like
What
the
year
early.
did
It feels
this
like the
film
early
come out?
2000s, 90s. But this Christian is a 2013 film.
Do you think it's about time that we answered the question we
Oh,
came
he's done
here
it
to do?
again. That's the fourth now. So it's. I'm
gonna
not
say it then,
do
weren't you?
You were gonna say it.
I'm gonna start off with Ben.
I would love to have watched it at the time. Even at the time, people think this was outdated. I think it's a bit outdated, and there's some really questionable scenes. And unfortunately, Domhnall Gleeson is not a relatable protagonist. It is trash.
Christian. Let me guess.
Well, I'm going to say, if you like Rachel McAdams and you like Domhnall Gleeson, go and watch any other film that they've been in. This film was trash.
Yeah, I think you guys won't be surprised to know that I regard this film as trash. It's very outdated, unlikable characters, and just an undercurrent of weird fucking creepiness that I just don't like at all. James, how about you, mate?
I'll be honest. I thoroughly enjoyed this film.
Oh, no!
I
No, you
really
didn't.
liked it.
It's a joke.
Yes, you guys aren't wrong. There are elements of it that are outdated, and it is very weird when you dissect it. But for me, the concepts that they add in, the stuff between Domhnall Gleeson and Bill Nighy is so nice, and I really enjoy it on their audience. So yeah, I'm gonna call it timeless.
Oh no, controversy. Christian's actually died. All right, guys. So I think that's trash, then, isn't it? I think we've decided.
Christian will be much more alive in the next episode.
Maybe.
Stay tuned.
Which we're gonna throw a clip in now.
Wait, I still function. Wanna bet?
Yeah, so thank you guys for watching. Hope you've enjoyed this edition of Timeless or Trash. Please do remember to like and subscribe. I hate to ask, but it's getting to the point now where it's actually starting to get a little bit offensive that you've not subscribed. Are we off our nuts for saying all this about time? Like, are we wrong? Straight up wrong about this film. So yeah, with that, goodbye everyone. See you later.
Thanks for watching.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.